What is amazing about classical music is that it gives an immediate and spontaneous pleasure to anyone. Because it's so absolutely beautiful, one can't miss it. It goes directly into your heart, wherever you are. My mom is a piano teacher. My mother is a piano teacher for all her life. And everyone in my family had to learn music. It was part of our education. But only I became a professional monk. I have two more brothers, and only I became a professional musician. And the reason why is when I was a kid, I had a lesson with my mother. And I was learning a piece by Robert Schumann, and I couldn't quite figure out how it should sound. So my mom, she said, "Wait, I'll play it for you, and you listen carefully." And when she was playing it for me, suddenly I found myself crying. And she turned to me and asked, "Why are you crying? What's wrong?" And I said, "It was so beautiful what you just did." And I think that was the moment when everyone in our family, including me, decided I have to study music deeply, professionally, and I have to become a musician. I have to share this ability to feel for classical music and to make other people feel for it. I had an opportunity to work with a storyteller called Jan Blake. We came up with an idea to create a children's concert where storytelling takes place in the concert venue and is accompanied by the music.
So listen very carefully to each character's theme. The first character is the bird.
So we came up with an idea of doing a very popular and famous tale called Peter and the Wolf.
Everybody knows the story of Peter and the Wolf.
And after that, there was another story, a traditional story that Jan was telling.
The second story we're going to tell you is from that beautiful Caribbean island called Martinique, and it's called The Old Woman and the Pumpkin.
It's a mixture of two art forms, storytelling and music. And by making this project happen, we proved that art in any way, in any form, can be enjoyed by any type of the audience.
Seeing this, the bird flew down upon the grass and settled next to the duck, shrugged his shoulders and said, "What kind of bird are you if you can't fly? What kind of bird are you if you can't swim?" said the duck. And she dived into the pond.
Piece Peter and the Wolf, written by Prokofiev and composed by Prokofiev, is a fairy tale where the story is told not only by a narrator, but also by different musical instruments from the symphony orchestra. When we were performing for children, we used only piano. So I had to create an illusion of a symphony orchestra having only one instrument.
But we don't have an orchestra. We do have Olga and David, and Olga is going to represent all the characters on the piano.
And every character was supposed to be represented by different instrument, but it all was represented by piano only, when in fact children did believe that I imitate symphony orchestra.
The next character is the cat. He's sneaking about as usual. Well, this is a unique case because I don't usually work with classical musicians. I usually work with acoustic traditional musicians from the African and West African and the Caribbean tradition. So working with Olga has been completely new because the discipline that is needed to work with music that is noted, that are very clear, with very clear cues, where I naturally would want to keep talking, I sometimes have to give space for the music to do the talking for me. So I think for the both of us, for both Olga and myself, it's been a learning curve, because Olga's learning how to be a bit more flexible with the music, and I'm learning how to be more disciplined with my storytelling. Where I naturally would want to keep talking, I sometimes have to... In the meantime, Peter, without the slightest fear, stood behind the closed gate, watching all that was going on. It's empowering, actually, and it's enlightening as well, because as a result of this collaboration with Olga, we now have lots of ideas for other shows using traditional folk tales. For instance, one idea is to tell stories from Old Peter's Book of Russian Folk Tales with composed pieces by Tchaikovsky, ideas for other shows using traditional folk tales. For instance, one idea is to tell stories from Old Peter's Book of Russian Folk Tales with composed pieces. Dance around the ocean, give me sugar, coffee and tea. Give me sugar, coffee and tea. Thank you. Olga Jegunova!
And this is the beauty of piano, because it can imitate anything. It can imitate any symphony orchestra instrument. It can imitate human being's voice. It can imitate all sorts of emotions. It is a universal tool for expressing anything, really. Another wonderful project that was happening this year was a concert that I did with violinist Irmina Trinkos. And this concert represents the idea that language of music can be very much international. It's language that can be understood anywhere in the world. So our idea was to present composers from 10 different countries, and also we cooperated with the living composers, and for us this is something I find very important. This is a task that I think every performer has to fulfill, because living composers need us, they need performance, they need somebody who will bring their music life and who will be introducing the world to the contemporary music.
This was part of our project to celebrate the 10th anniversary of EU expansion. Why is it so special for us? Because me and Olga, we both come from the countries that entered the European Union in 2004. And that opened a lot of possibilities to us, and we are very grateful to have them. So the way to celebrate for us, the best way would be to kind of share the music with the public from those countries, which is not very often played, because it was very long kind of hidden from everybody else, and it's a very, very good music. So we played today a lot of different pieces, some by Maltese composer Charles Camille. Are very receptive for music, and And at the end it's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to connect with your inner personal feelings. You don't necessarily need to know anything about the composer or anything about the culture. You just need to listen and close your eyes and actually see something. How does it connect with you? To connect with your inner personal feelings. You don't necessarily need to know anything about the composer.
There's some things that I can't really talk about, either because they are too private, too intimate, too personal, or too sensitive. Piano and classical music gives me an opportunity to express myself without words. In fact, it allows me to express myself with silence, or with only one note, or with combination of silence and music. As a result, I enter a completely magical zone of a total and absolute beauty, warmth,